Cornwall in the West Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District for July 7, 2016. And if you don't mind standing for invocation, if you don't mind bowing your hand. Dear Lord, bless this great parish, this state, and this drainage district to make the right decision for our community. And bless all armed forces service that is serving for this great country, and bless America. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Everyone is here except Mr. Craig Anderson.
He's on vacation.
On vacation. All right. Accepting the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
All right, second that motion. Minutes are accepted. All right, moving to item number 4, and that would be Jews Drive. Mr. Pierce.
Yeah, we've been working on that for some time, and I say some time, about a week and a half or two, and we are still in the process of completing that job. Okay. So that should be completed by the time we come into the next meeting.
Okay, we're gonna move to item number 5. Yes, Mr. Billy Haywood have a drainage issue. He could not make it, so he asked Miss Diane Ayer to speak on his behalf, and it's a drainage issue going through his property, and he had requested this to be dug, but it have a problem with the right-of-way issue, and we know right-of-way issues have been an issue on this side of the river for a while. Miss Diane, you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to appear. It's disturbing to learn again. It's 2016, and there's no easy answer to cleaning drainage ditches. It's the past 2 weeks have been really interesting, what I've learned and how far behind we are on taking care of such matters. Okay. So in order to make a request to get some drainage work done, when the parish was already in the area with the equipment doing the drainage, working on the drainage, you learn that one property owner has the right to stop other property owners from maintaining a healthy way of the water moving from one area to another. The order was requested for the property at 9073 Highway 405 in Donaldsonville. Apparently, this natural drainage area that's been there for many, many years, any map you look on, you can identify it. The parish may or may not have cleaned it in the past. It doesn't seem to matter if they did or did not. It appears there's one property owner that's against allowing any kind of servitude for drainage on their property. So as the tax-paying citizen, I want to know. And on the west side, apparently Mr. Joseph is telling me it's different on the east side. On the west side, if you need some natural drainage way, maintenance by the parish, which, by the way, we pay taxes for, what do we have to do to get this done? What's the problem? And in my conversation with everyone, I've tried to talk to Mr. Bill Rue. He's not returned my call. He did send Mr. Moose Pierce and Mr. Phil Savoy out to talk about the problem. And again, we come up with this answer that there's no way to take care of this problem because one landowner won't sign whatever document is necessary for this work to happen. So as a tax-paying citizen of Ascension Parish, sirs, I want to know what the answer is. I told Mr. Pierce, so Mr. Pierce wasn't happy with what I said because I said, what you're saying to me is if my neighbor can stop it up by not allowing you to clean it, well, then I ought to better just stop my ditch up too. And Mr. Pierce said, well, no, that's not what I said. Well, okay. Mr. Pierce, I know that's not what you said, but that's what it means. One neighbor has a right to stop up the drainage. Help me.
All right. Mr. O'Neill, would you help her on,
If it's a natural drain, you have the right to drain, but we don't have the right to go in there, so you'd have to sue them. And if the court determined that it was a drain that we needed to maintain, we could do it, but otherwise, we can't. We can't use it, we can't go on private property with our drain servitude.
Okay, so the answer to the voters of Ascension Parish is that if we have a major problem with drainage on our property to the point that mosquitoes are breeding, numerous amounts of mosquitoes that are affecting 11 different homeowners in this specific area, that there's nothing that we can do as taxpayers but hire an attorney and file a lawsuit. Is that correct?
We do not have the right to go on private property if there's not an established drainage servitude.
Okay.
now, Ms., ever since I've been in office, it's been an issue. Mr. O'Neill know that just as well. And we have tried to, the east side of the river have drainage servitude for drainage. They created a law. If it was a natural flow and they get the easement, they get easement to go on it because there's a natural flow of drainage servitude. But they made an ordinance and did this, correct, Mr. O'Neill?
There's a state law that says that you have access. It doesn't give you the right to, all it does is give you access if there's an existing drainage servitude there. If there's not a drainage ditch there and it's natural drain, that's not really the same thing. You have to declare your major drainage channels. It's two different things. That's what the East Bank did. They designated their major drainage channels. But if you're talking about just natural drain, that's not a drainage channel.
So my next question to you is, when these ordinances were being authored, why were they not the same for the west side as the east side? That makes no sense to me as a taxpayer.
Because East Ascension Drainage and West Ascension Drainage are two different bodies.
Well, as the council,
No, the council didn't pass the ordinances. It was the drainage districts passed their policies.
Okay.
But even if they did, if it's not a drainage canal, we cannot go in there and clean it. If it's a natural drain, it has to be a drainage channel that you can use. It just can't go in on somebody's property and make a drainage ditch.
well, I mean, how many years does it have to be a ditch that drains water off of people before you refer to it as a drainage ditch?
That's a
It's
engineer.
a matter for a judge to decide, and that's why if it's a natural drain, you have to prove you have the right to drain there. We don't get involved in pursuing private property rights.
Okay, well, I don't know how quite to answer that since I just read the agenda for the council meeting tonight where you're going to talk about taxes. Okay, so I elected my council member to represent me and to put into place ordinances that take care of my property, since as the taxpayer, which you all are as well, pays an abundance of property tax here. We pay all kinds of taxes here. And I don't understand why one of the priorities shouldn't be drainage of any kind. I don't care if it's on the west side or the east side. Drainage should be a #1 priority for all of us. Whether it's the simplest of ditch in someone's yard, on the front of the roadside where the crews do a lovely job in Santa Monica. I can speak to that because I live there. I also have property on this side of the river, and the state does a good job at maintaining that ditch. But there are drainages of every kind here, from the smallest of ditch to the biggest of canal, that are important to all of us, whether we're on the west side or the east side. And I don't understand, as a taxpayer, when I call upon my elected officials to help me, that I continually be told that I need to hire an attorney.
Because individual property rights override the government of law, override the government. And an individual does not have the right, is not required to make you dig a drainage ditch in his property to affect his neighbors. That's between he and his neighbors, and if it's not a drainage channel, we can't go on his property.
Well, I wasn't making a request for you to dig a new drainage ditch. We're discussing a natural drainage that has been in place for a very, very long time. And there are past incidents where the parish has cleaned it, which that is neither here nor there now because we're talking about what the law is. So again, I ask you all to help me to figure out what is the way that we can, what way can we go to make this a more pleasant issue about drainage of our property without having to hire an attorney and sue someone and go to court.
Bill, you want to say something, then after you, I would go
Yeah,
back
well,
where I
thanks.
was.
I have a couple of questions. Oh, sorry, but Ms. Ayo, is the property owner that's, can you give me a little geography, or like how the drainage area runs mostly through
Well-
Mr. Haywood's property, or does it mostly?
It affects a bunch of properties, sir. I mean, all I have is this small map here. I would be glad to look at it with you and explain.
So how many property owners are in play here?
Well, right now, in order to clean the section that hasn't been cleaned, because the parish was there cleaning other sections that the property owners had apparently granted them approval to clean, because the equipment was right there next to the ditch that needed to be cleaned. You know, it just didn't make any sense. And so at this point, I'm assuming that you would have to deal with 3 different property owners.
Three besides Mr. Haywood?
No, there would probably be 2 besides Mr. Haywood.
Okay. And one of those has agreed that they provide the servitude or provide the easement, whichever we need. So there's only
Well-
one out of those 2 that's not agreed to?
Apparently so.
Okay,
I mean, that's what I was told by the drainage department.
okay.
I spoke to Mr. Savoy again this morning, and he explained to me that there was nothing that they could do because the adjacent property owner refuses them onto the property. And so it's already been looked into. I'm not here to complain about the department. The phone calls were made and the people have been doing their job looking into it. But again, the answer keeps coming back that this is all because one party doesn't want to allow the cleaning of this natural drainage way. So as the council, I need for you to advise me as a citizen, what can you do to help me? And I don't want to hire a lawyer and sue someone. I want my parish government to help me figure out how we're going to take care of drainage in all of Ascension Parish, west and east side, small, large, whatever it may be. What can you all do as a body to help resolve this problem? Why do people have to keep coming here upset about ditches and such to be told the same thing, that we don't have the right to go on someone's property? I'm not about telling people what to do with their property, but we all agree that if we're going to live as good neighbors, we have to have utility poles, we have to have gas lines, we have to have all these things. I have all these things on my property. I can't just go out and dig a hole and plant a tree. Why? Because ETEL may have a line, San Gas may have a line, Ascension Water may have a line, somebody may have a line. I can't just do what I want. That's not infringing upon my rights as a property owner. That's just the nature of living in a community where we all have to be neighbors and look out for one another.
Okay. Now, O'Neill, can you tell me this, I'm sorry, but what's this designation it is?
If it's a
What's the
major-
designation that it has to be in order for
It must be a major drainage channel.
a major drainage channel? And who makes that definition?
Well, it would be based on the history, but it would also be based on y'all. Y'all would have to declare it that. You can't declare
On this
one-
side of the river, we have only document, and only law that we have passed to make a major drainage canal. One, only one,
We've only identified one.
one.
You have to go out and identify it and then do it. You just can't decide, I want to do this. It has to
Okay.
be a major drainage.
We tried. I don't know, about 5, 6 years ago. And it was, those landowners did not, so me and Mr. Shakespeare was in the eyes. So it wouldn't,
So let me ask this, so the designation as a major drainage channel, is that something that's done by West Ascension Drainage, or is that
It's done by
something
West
that's?
Ascension drainage based on the history of the drain. You just can't go pick out a.
No, I understand
That's
that.
my major drainage channel.
But what I'm trying to,
It's got a history of being
does it
there.
also have to be approved by the council,
No,
or is it
by
just
law.
West Ascension Drainage? Okay.
Now, it's subject
So-
to damages.
I'm
All it
sorry.
does is give you access. You can't go in there and do it. You gotta pay them for any work you do on that.
Okay.
It's just an access survey.
So I'd like to make a motion at this time that we revisit that, the major drainage channel survey, and have West Ascension Drainage present us what was done in the past, and so that we can look at that again.
all right, I second that. We put that on the next agenda, and we can assign that to Mr. Bill Root as to come back to us.
Okay, and then, I guess to more directly maybe address your issue, have you been out there to talk to the landowner that won't give the permission?
No, Mr.
I hadn't talked to him.
They just, they take the survey, they look at it, they talk or call them. I haven't done anything but me and Mr.
Could we ask,
He won't talk.
perhaps Mr. Pierce or someone to go out and talk to the landowner that won't give the permission?
Biru, or I can help him with that, yeah, sure. But I just need the landowners, the names.
Okay. So I'd like to, and then if you will, let Oliver and I know when you're gonna go talk to them, and if we're available, I'd like to listen in on that.
All right, that'd be fine.
All right, just so there won't be repetition, apparently someone from Bill Rue's office did speak to those parties. That's what they said to me. They told me that the parties denied them access.
Was that?
So you will
was
need
that
to check
Phil-
on
Was
that.
that Phil Sever?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so I'd still like to ask that we set up another meeting and let Oliver and I at least know when it is, and perhaps we can, I'd like to hear what the reason is that they won't allow the drainage myself.
Well, I'd also like to tell you that I didn't realize that the west side drainage was so different from the east side drainage. I live on the east side and I have property on the west side. So the west side issues are now something that I'm concerned about as well. So I would definitely be interested in participating in whatever would need to happen to change whatever ordinances there may or may not be in west side drainage to help the people
Well,
on this
I
side. of the river.
appreciate that. It sounds like, the laws are in place, but we have to establish these major drainage channels, and that's up to,
And they have to have a
that's up
public
to
hearing.
this large body, right?
They got to have public hearing before we even adopt them and everything else. So it will be a
Well,
community
I'm
discussion.
definitely encouraged that you are saying you will follow through, and I can't wait to see what happens. Thank you for your time.
All right? Okay, thank you very much. All right?
Can we have, I'm sorry. We'll put that on the agenda.
Oh, yeah. We put that on the agenda for next time.
We'll put it on the agenda for next.
You put it to discuss, not to.
No, just discuss. We gotta have a
Just to
plan.
get an
You
up,
gotta have
Yeah.
a plan before you can ever put it.
just agenda next, just to get an update of where we are.
All right. Okay, moving on to item number 6. Lemonville Cutoff Bridge, Mr. Pierce.
We're still working on that bridge. They're still bolting up the structure itself. And, I'm not gonna give a definite time when that's gonna be in place, but, they're in the process.
Okay. All right. Item number 7 is the culvert on Bayou Napoleon, from Bayou Napoleon. Mr. Pierce.
I spoke to the landowners and we got, we need to get the right-of-way signed, and I gave them the papers, and I'm waiting for them to come back with the signatures on the right-of-way for us to do the job.
All right. Okay. Moving on to item number 8, culvert for Lemonville Cutoff Road. Oh, we just had that, huh?
No, that's
No,
a different,
all
this
right.
is St. Jude.
All right, all right. Lemonville Cutoff Road there, Mr. Pierce. For St. Jude, that's the smaller version, I guess.
That's the one where we put in the extra cover.
Box cover?
No, round cover.
Oh.
And now we have 2 covers side by side to, to eliminate that drainage problem.
Okay.
There was also supposed to be some work done cleaning the upstream side of that and then doing some work around the entry. There was some riprap and, I was told, Mr. Root told me that
Okay.
they would riprap the entrance because, the culverts had to be put fairly deep because there's some water lines there. So you have a higher probability of sediment building up. So we wanted to have the entrance a place for the sediment to settle and then have that riprap. That's, okay.
I'll ask him about that. So it's riprap near the entrance?
Yeah, shape the entrance and then provide a larger area for the sediment to settle out in front of the culvert.
Moving on to item number 9, Highway 1, Bun Hood subdivision drainage. Mr. Thomas Pierce, update.
Okay, on that one, we met with Mr. Long, and we met with the state. The state went out there, we blew out the cover. I talked to our surveying department, and they are gonna survey that area in the back, behind his home in the next week and a half. They're on the Panama Canal project right now, doing, I guess, a major survey. I also spoke with the state personnel, and they said that they could provide, Mr. Long indicated that he may want to cover that area himself, but that's going to be at his expense, because that's on the state highway. And I will try to put him and the state person together to see, to provide a contractor to assist him in doing that.
Going to make sure I understand that, we have a survey that's going to go on in the next few weeks, and then the result of that survey will be some type of recommendation?
No, the survey is for the backside of his property. We just want to make sure that there isn't any other obstruction for drainage around that area. So that's what that survey is going to be.
So we feel like that
But in the
cleaning
front,
out
this is in the front area where we cleaned out the ditch. They had a lot of debris in the ditch. And he's, as the rain comes and moves the debris along the ditches, sometimes they get, they get clogged up and prevent the water from going through the culverts. So he's decided, he's thinking about covering the area himself, so you won't have that problem.
I guess what I'm,
In the front, it's in the front on the state highway, Highway 1.
right. And what I'm hearing though is that we think we solved the problem by cleaning out the culvert, and there's no other work required.
That's what I think we did, yeah.
Okay.
The state seems to think that isn't a problem.
Okay.
Other than if you don't clean out the debris from time to time, you will get the same problem over and over. Therefore, Mr. Long was thinking about coveting it so he wouldn't have to worry about that problem coming up again and again.
Now we're gonna additionally do this survey that's gonna tell us if there's some other problem.
On the back end.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Moving to item number 10, St. James Assumption Drainage Update. Mr. Pierce.
Met with the president of St. James Parish and his chief operations officer, and we discussed meeting with, setting up a meeting with Lafourche Parish, because at the lower end of Lafourche Parish, where it goes into Lake des Allemands, if we can get that area cleaned out, that's kind of like a bottleneck, you know, for St. James, Ascension, Assumption. And I talked to them last week, week before last, and they're in the process of trying to get something, talking to the council member and the parish president, and I guess the drainage personnel, to see what kind of discussions we can have to eliminate that problem down there.
All right. Item number 11, Mr. Pierce, General Manager, report.
We covered just about everything on the agenda. Maybe on the St. James end, they still waiting on a permit from the Corps engineer for the Napoleon Bayou Verret Canal cleanups.
All right. Mr. Craig is not here, so Mr. Bill Dawson, you have any questions, comments, or anything?
Nope.
Well, I have one. You know, I know we're going through a lot of follow-up on administration and all that stuff with the new people here, but I definitely like to know that process is where Bill Roof stand at as far as this meeting here. Are he going to be coming to us and reporting us anything, or his first man, or all that going to be left up to you, Mr. Pierce? I mean, some questions, you know, I would love to ask Mr. Bill Roof, but unfortunately he wasn't here, and that is a concern with me. He's operating or managing drainage on this side, and at this public meeting here, he's not here, or someone from his department. I mean, I'd love to have somebody here at these meetings. If they're going to do the field work and research, I'd rather have them to answer that question.
I will pass that on to the president and to Mr. Rue in that department, and let them know that the drainage officials would like someone present here from the department, from either Bill Rue or one of his designees.
Correct. All right. That's all comments I have on that. Moving to item number 12, date and time. Ms. Page? August 4th. All right, 5:15. And once again, before Bill say adjourn, just to let the public know, if you have any drainage or street issue or grass issue or anything, you can call 225-257-1180. I remember that number. And I encourage every citizen on the West Bank to know that number. You put in your work request, and if they do not do the job in a timely manner, please call back and ask for up-to-date status. Mr. Bill, that's all I have.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Meeting adjourned.